What's up, Internet? I'm Daniel, the Pitch Professor. New pitches coming up right about now. And I have to admit, I've been browsing the interwebs because most of the examples I have are either from Dragon's Den, Shark's Tank, or potentially TV shows. But I was looking for a real-life example. I think I found one. It's called the winner of the best pitch competition by a gentleman of the name of Willy Green and a company called Party on Demand. Now, if you're thinking, who are you, Daniel? Why do you call yourself the Pitch Professor? I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a TV presenter, and I'm a keynote speaker. And over the past decade and more, I've hosted hundreds of startup events, exactly like, no, that one over there, what we're about to see. In the center of everything were pitches, and I would always give people feedback on that. So eventually I started training people because they would ask me, could you give us some feedback on what you just heard? And over time, that's led to the title, The Pitch Professor, because nowadays I lecture at several universities. I train people all around the world on this. I was always asked, could you give us some examples of pitches that are particularly good or bad, and why? This is the idea of the channel now. So without any further ado, I'm going to look into this. And here's the thing. I'm going to do this even a little more differently than now because this was filmed on a stage. And that's kind of a setting that's not edited. It's just the way I would normally see it when I'm training people or when I'm emceeing events. So I'm going to use my most important device when I give trainings is paper, a pen, and I'm going to use my phone because I'm going to... That's my phone. There. Because I'm going to switch on my timer. I'll tell you why later. Let's see if it actually makes sense. Usually it does, because a timer is usually quite a powerful thing. And before we get kicking, I'm just going to share my opinion on this pitch. So if you see things differently or you see them the same, just post that in the comments, because that makes this whole thing even more fun. Now, without any further ado, let's take a look at the winner of the best pitch competition. Let's go.
I'm so stressed out trying to plan all of life's celebrations. I mean, I got little Susie's graduation, I got Ted's birthday party, and of course, football season is coming back. I want to plan a tailgating party for that. I wish there was one easy solution for me to order all my party supplies, just as easy as booking an Airbnb. Wait, there is. Party on Demand is your one-stop mobile party supply shop, delivering the party to you in 1 hour or less.
Okay. Wow. Two things about this. Number one, I was so blown away by this guy that, first of all, my mouth went, and number two, I forgot to hit the timer. So that happens. But we'll work around that. We'll work around this. You can help me on this. First off, let's dissect what we just saw. He goes on stage and he goes, "Wah, I'm there." And this is an interesting thing because in most cases, you're going to be number 16 out of 18 in a room where there's absolutely no air, with an audience that's bored out of their skull, probably an MC that's not doing their job as well as certain bearded dudes, and suddenly it's your time to shine. And then you somehow have to draw attention. And this is really interesting. By yelling, he certainly gets eyeballs. And you have to think about how the brain works. The brain is not always on. And that's one of the biggest mistakes I see in pitching, that people always build a pitch for a well-slept, well-relaxed, and really focused audience or brain. However, in most cases, it's the absolute polar opposite. So you need to find a way to switch your audience on. And you need to understand, in most cases, someone goes on stage and starts talking and your brain goes like, what was that? And then it takes, that's your reptile brain. And then it takes some kind of an emotional response for your emotional center to switch on. So something that makes some kind of a rapport within you, something that makes your heart or your mind go, to finally get your neocortex switched on. That suddenly goes like, okay, so let's focus. That's an interesting process. I might do a video in depth on that at some point in time, but I'd like to get back to this. So this guy is certainly a high energy pitching tsunami we've had rolling at in our direction. And to be honest, what he's done is he's switched my brain on. And he's just like, 100 miles an hour. I'd like to go back to that just because I was slightly overwhelmed, and I'm gonna switch on my timer now. And here's the thing. My first response, that's why I do these videos. I don't watch them 10 times before, take notes of things I like to say, but rather I watch it the first time to give you my honest feedback. And I'm curious how you see it. This guy has, to be honest, he's grabbed my attention, but holy shit, has he overwhelmed me. So I to be honest, I have no idea what he said. I know I think he's awesome, but I don't know what it is that he does. So let's just go back, switch the timer on, and I'm breaking my own rules, but that's why you have rules. Let's go. So, timer on.
I'm so stressed out trying to plan all of life's celebrations. I mean, I got little Susie's graduation. I got Ted's birthday party. And of course, football season is coming back. I would have planned a tailgating party for that. I wish there was one easy solution for me to order all my party supplies, just as easy as booking an Airbnb. Wait, there is. Party on Demand is your one-stop mobile party supply shop, delivering the party to you in 1 hour or less. We deliver the 3 essential ingredients you need to wow your guests and have an incredible, memorable party. We deliver food, talent, and decorations right to your door. Bam! We make it happen easily with our partnerships from Uber Eats, Grubhub, and Postmates, delivering that tantalizing food that's yummy, yummy in your tummy. In addition to that, our friends over at Amazon Prime are hooking it up with our great, crazy curated party box that's delivered to your door. Plus, we have hooked up over 1,500 incredible talents of dancers, acrobatics, and even your own personal chef from Benihana, Katachi. That's it all.
Just want to cut in here real quickly. So I've actually switched on my timer. A couple things. So first off, if you look at the slide in the background, I'll just go back just a bit, just switch screens. If you look at this slide in the background, which is, for me, slides are supposed to support what you say. That kind of, you say a lot of things, not necessarily, but you say things, and the slide should help your brain make that connection. And if I see slides like these in the background, it just overwhelms me. I don't know what to look at. Now, in his case, because he's such a high energy type, I tend to listen to him, but I don't look at the slide. But as soon as my brain sees a slide like this, so we have a smiley in the middle, we have one bubble at the left, one bubble at the right, a car on top, we've got 3 other elements below, we've got text. What my brain does, it goes and sees it and goes like, that looks interesting. What's going on there? So I try and figure it out, what's happening on the slide, instead of listening. So I'm a huge fan of either animating those slides or, even better, having the cleanest, most simplistic slides. One slide contains 1 bit of emotion and 1 bit of information. You're thinking emotion? Yes. So information and emotion. A slide will always convey information, and it will always create emotion. And you should always think, what of the two is it? Is it creating emotion, or is it conveying information? And here's the funny thing. Most people are not aware of that element. They're not aware of that. And that's something you should. Now, I got to take note of this. Emotion and information. I quite like that. I don't want to kind of jump myself too quickly to conclusion. Again, I always do this in one shot and no editing. So, and I have to correct myself slightly. Every slide always creates an emotion and always contains some sort of information, but you have to be aware of what of the two you are creating intentionally. So with that, I mean, if you show, let's say, a slide with a laughing child, the emotion is going to be probably something like joy, happiness, or whatever it is. And information is in some way also something you're trying to convey. If you have a number, for example, a big number, that's also going to create information, but it might create an emotion such as curiosity or FOMO or whatever it is. But the point is, you should always look at your slides and think, what emotion is it going to create in my audience? And what's the information I'm showing? That's the one element you should do with slides. And on the other hand, with slides, what you should also do is something I call the 2 pillars of pitching. Is always, does that slide buy or create time? And does it create trust? So a slide always in some form should create time so that people want to ask you something afterwards, want to start some kind of an information, want to start some kind of a conversation. And secondly, you also want that a slide creates trust. So something like that. And you have to go like, okay, does the slide either buy me time or does it build trust? Now I'm getting the right words. I've got too much going on in my brain right now. And that's something you should also ask yourself. I know it's a lot I'm putting in here, but again, hopefully the right person sees this video, probably the night before you're building your pitch deck or whatever, and I want you to think about it. In what order? When you sit in front of your pitch deck and you have no idea where you're starting, and you go like, I have 59,000 slides, I don't know which ones to use, think about your core audience, so who are they, and think, is this slide going to either earn time or build trust? If it's both, great. If it's one of the two, great. If it's none, dump it. And then ask yourself, what's the core information on this slide? And what kind of emotion do you think are you creating? And then you know what it's doing. Going back to slides like this one, I couldn't tell you, nor could you, because there's just too much information on there, too much emotion on there, and by that, too much mixed emotion in the audience. You don't want that. One slide, one clear element of information. Something else, I know this is the winner, so I know he can probably handle a bit of feedback. Currently, we're at 1 minute and 14 seconds, and he's still talking about the product. And to be honest, it's a high energy, cool pitch. But for me, I still haven't heard a single relevant number about market size, traction, or potential business models. So at this point in time, I totally believe in him, but I have nothing to build upon my belief in the product. Yes, I know he said something about 1,500 companies signed on, but that's all there's to it. Now, let's continue with the pitch and with my timer. And I have to switch cameras, so that's multitasking. It's going to freeze my brain now.
Baddest, and even your own personal chef from Benihana, Katachi. That's It all starts with the box. Party On Demand has already partnered with over 35 of the world's largest companies and brands that's going to give you the cool thing. Think of Pinterest meets Etsy, delivered in your box and all exclusive right to your door. Oh man, it's going down. Our app is simple and easy to use. And with less than 5 clicks from your phone, your party is on. With over $251 billion in the licensing and rental industry, we know we're going to disrupt this marketplace because over 800,000 people celebrate their birthday in the U.S. alone every single day, not including over 500,000 people that just have a great social and celebration as well. With that, Party On Demand situates ourselves between the sweet spot of affordability and convenience. Now, our revenue model was simple. Nowhere, and I mean nowhere.
Yep, just want to jump in here. So we're at 2 minutes and whatever, seven seconds. Now he's starting to talk about the revenue model. That's okay. But the last 2 minutes have basically been him explaining what the problem is and kind of talking about the product. Now, something I've learned the hard way over many years is, I mean, people don't invest in amazing products that early on. What they're looking for is, well, let's call it business opportunities. And I think he could have highlighted this business opportunity a lot stronger. Yes, he said they've partnered with 3,500 large suppliers and whatnot, but he's kind of given us loose traction numbers, but still no clear evidence of traction. And traction would be beautiful. So it's still kind of a very rough picture he's painted at this point in time. Let's see where we are getting to. And it's still, for me, kind of a bit confusing. Now, I might be quite hard on this, but the point being is what I'd like you to understand is, especially these high-energy pitches, they sound awesome, they seem awesome, but at the end of the day, what you're trying to do is you listen to a pitch, and based on what you hear, you're trying to understand, is this a valid business opportunity you're looking at or not? And right now, I mean, I'd love to hire this guy as an MC. Sure, bang, but the company he's talking about just seems to have a lot of ideas. And the problem is, if you have less energy than this guy, and chances are, unless you're this guy, you have less energy than he has, by now your audience will probably have stopped listening. And if now you just have to kind of summarize and say, what has he said so far? He said, look, we've got party on demand. That's great. We've got a lot of people celebrate birthdays. There's a lot of parties going on. Yes, we work with a lot of other companies. Yes, but still no. And a lot of this information is swallowed in between the lines. Let's continue on. Again, I'm being harsh, and if you have a different opinion, go for it. That's why I'm doing this. 2 minutes and 10 down the line.
Can you find food, talent, and decor delivered to your door same day for the incredible price? Wait for it, $299. Ow! Make it want to shake something. We're asking for $1.5 million in exchange for 15% equity. This will give us a 15-month runway and yield profitably about $7.5 million. Party on Demand was inspired by my father, who...
Now we got some numbers. Finally got some numbers. Okay, so you're looking for 1.5 million, and he says he's going to try and get a return of 7.5 million. Okay, fair enough. But that was like 5 seconds on that. 5 seconds on the whole business model. So he's doing parties for $299. Okay. I still don't know if he's delivered a single party up to now. Okay, but still back to the pitch. So it's been inspired by his father. See, this slide we're seeing right now, that one, that's kind of like the slides I like. It's got one clear picture on it, one clear message on it. There's no confusement or whatever. That's the way you should build slides. I know very often I say, well, it depends and it's up to you. No, slides should have a clear statement on them. I cannot overemphasize this. Now, back to the high energy gentleman.
Passed away from cancer. But before he did, he said, son, celebrate life more often. Whether that's your job promotion or getting an A on a test or even crossing the street, celebrate life every single day. Now you don't have to stress no more or wonder how to put on a really cool party and impress your friends. We can do it for you. I'm Big Willy G, the CEO of Party on Demand, and we're helping you, and your best friend sitting next to you to party on. So call us, and I'll see you at the party. Woo, woo, woo.
Okay, wow. Unpopular opinion. Again, I'm being a bit of an unfriendly person here. He kind of still squeezed in his father and the cancer part, which is on an emotional level, it's like the worst thing or one of the worst things that can happen to you. But right now, again, I sound like a terrible person, but I'm just trying to get information over here. It just seemed like that bit too much too late just to kind of squeeze that in, that story, and it doesn't bring too much to it. And he says, look, my father who passed away said party every single moment. Okay, understand, but what does it do to the pitch? And for me, if I kind of have to summarize what I've heard here is, yeah, we provide party equipment by one click within 1 hour for $299. This is how we do it. That's kind of, I mean, I know, but if you dissect all the energy away from this, and I'd like to understand at this point in time, I'd rather like to understand how in such a cluttered, complicated field the whole thing actually works. You might want to rewatch this, but here's the thing. So if he says he can deliver all like these artists and parties and whatsoever all together, that's a neat idea. And over the last 10 years, I've heard dozens of party apps and blah, blah, blah. So often that actually when I hear the word party in pictures, most of my brain just wants to switch off and be like, no, not interested. But that's the thing. It's never about the ideas. It's about the execution. And this guy has said close to nothing about how he actually intends to execute. Now, this pitch is a couple of years old I'm taking, so the whole pre-downturn of startup, like probably still in a time where people said, I have a pitch deck and an idea. Here's 50 million, sunshine. But the point being is still, it's a real-life pitch. So what would be more interesting would be like in the first 30 seconds, talk about the whole problem solution and then about the execution, saying this is how we managed to get this done in an hour. This is an example. This is how it works. That's the traction numbers. And one more thing. I believe now we're going to have the Q&A session, and that's usually the most funnest part ever. Terrible English here. And something I've also learned before we see this Q&A session together is in most cases, people never ask about the product. They just want to understand the business model. And I'm pretty sure I can bet you on this, that the first, second, and third question is probably just going to be about business model or execution. But let's find out. So the crowd loves it. That's good.
All right, I'll let the judges weigh in.
I dare somebody to ask the first question.
Are you free to MC the next Founder Fuel Demo Day?
Absolutely.
Okay. I may have been wrong with my prediction, but kind of the thing is, though, he's also overwhelmed them. If you look at that, he's just, all five of them, they were having real fun. They were like, wow, this is great. And then they're going like, I dare to ask someone the first question because they're just overwhelmed. And something I do a lot when I host startup pitches on stage is, while the guy or gal is pitching, I try and read the emotions of the jury. I try and see how they're on, how they switched on, how they're taking notes, how are they reacting, how are they responding. And that's something that can give you absolutely not immeasurable, but incredibly relevant data on instant feedback by investors. Now, probably when you're pitching, you don't have the brain capacity to do that because you're pitching, right? You're trying to beat the time and get your lines. But have your co-founder observe the audience, specifically the jury. And I say it at nearly every pitch competition I host on MC is bring in your co-founder. Watch the jury, observe them, not in a freaky way, but just kind of, and in the right moment where you talk about business model, observe them. Are they kind of listening in at the edge of the seat? Are they nodding? Are they yawning? Are they on their phone? Are they switched on? That's it. Back to the pitch, to Willy Green. And again, I think he's pitched himself much more than he's pitched his company. But again, I'd love to hear what you think about it.
Just call me up. We'll be honored.
Okay, I'll ask a real question. That was amazing, by the way. Are you in market? Do you have revenue?
Yes, so we've already generated over $150,000 in less than 4 months.
Dude, I mean, first question, he says we've delivered more than 100,000 in revenue in the first 4 months. That's something he should say in the first 20, 30 seconds. And I don't understand why he doesn't do it. That's the point. Like, I would have, like, if this would be in a training or on stage, and again, one millisecond less energy, I would have stopped listening. But if he says, we have this party solution, that's the size of the market, tons of them fail. However, in the last 4 months, we've been able to create more than $100,000 in revenue on no marketing budget or whatever he's going to say, or bootstrapped, and we've understood that our ideal customers, blah, blah, blah. That's why we're looking for so and so much money in order to scale this. Dude, I'm on fire. I don't care about the energy. This is what I want to hear. But the point is that he has to answer that in Q&A. I hate that when that happens, because the point is, in most cases, people will have stopped listening to you and they won't even care to hear that during Q&A. It's something I see so often, that the real relevant information is only pulled out of founders' noses during the Q&A session. And think about it, when you're pitching, you're not trying to pitch a big vision, you're trying to offer a business opportunity to people where you're saying, look, this is how big the market is, this is how big the risk is, and this is how big the investors. By this I mean, look, market size, yes, understandable. By risk I mean, if you say, I'm a first-time founder with no traction, and I've just started yesterday, versus I've exited 3 companies, and we have 100K revenue in 3 months on a bootstrap, but we've identified the sweet spot, and we just partnered and had our first check by Andreessen Horowitz. Again, that sounds less risky, right? And the invest on top is like, how much does it cost? Is it a 10 billion market and you're looking for 50K, or is it a 500K market and you're looking for 10 million to again, it's extreme numbers, but the point being is, based on this information, you decide as an investor, is this relevant or not? And then you call your shots. Not pitching big picture, big vision. I know some of you are going to go, boo-hoo, but it's about that and change the world and so. Yes, sure. But in the real world, that's what people want to hear. Let's go back to Willy G.
In our stealth mode, private beta mode, after you speak, in Los Angeles, California.
Okay, and will you be only in California, or will you be expand to other
this
markets?
It's a worldwide play. Everybody likes to party, and including us. So we're looking forward to start there in Los Angeles and quickly grow. That's why we in Canada. Montreal, make some noise! Yeah!
I mean, just same thing. I mean, he's had 100. I'm actually stuttering now in excitement. They've had 100K revenue just in LA in 4 months. That's strong. By the way, then you should say, and we've identified that this, that, and that market works in a similar fashion. It's really important to show why and how you intend on scaling. Because the thing is, very often people underestimate markets and don't know that or assume that every market is going to behave the same. But if you've nailed your sweet spot and you've identified 6, 8, 10 different other markets that work the same, that's a solid pitch you want to hear. Dude, I don't know what he had before the pitch.
Mercy. That's the only word I learned. I'm sorry.
You are a force, and I would never want to go against you or bet against you. But to get to the numbers, do you have the unit economics in terms of how much does it cost you to acquire a customer? And of the $299, what's the contribution back? And so how long does it take for you to recoup?
Absolutely. Yeah. So we built in a total of 50% profit margins overall, right? So out of our $299, it only costs us $150 to land the box to the door to the consumer, and $150 come back to the company. We're really excited about that.
Because you just got to jump in there. Same thing. I mean, that's what you should have in the pitch. Great question, by the way. It's one of the traditional, how much do you earn with the user? And how much does the user cost? In most cases, people say, I have no effing clue. $1. But he says, look, we have $299 of revenue and it takes us $150 to acquire. And then as an investor, you go, great. So if I pour in X amount of money, I'll get Y amount of return in Z amount of time. That's an easy one. Or you go like, ooh, but you need to scale and buy a bunch of trucks and hire people. And what's that going to do to your operations? But again, this is super valid information that should have been in the pitch within the first minute and a half, because that's what you really want to talk about. Not all the party and chaka chaka boom boom and stuff, but that's the real relevant stuff. And congrats to Willy Green and his team that they have these unit economics at the ready. And so Willy, I bet by now you're pentacorn and everything, but the point being is, if you're watching this, have your numbers at the ready. Or if you don't have them, that's okay if you're early stage. That's super okay. But just be aware that you kind of try and understand that you are trying to prove as early as possible some sort of market traction. And by that, you're mitigating, reducing risk from the investor's side. Ah, my man. What a beautiful pitch to talk about, huh?
Our curated party boxes have a 70% profit margin put into them, so it only costs us $20 to $25 to create a curated experience for the consumer. To acquire them, we're only working with our Facebook ads at the moment, and right now we're currently hovering around $5 to $7 per CAQ.
Sweet.
So I'm going to avoid the temptation to ask you if you drink coffee. But so as you expand into new markets,
yes.
right, I wonder, is Willy G the force of nature that makes it possible? And have you thought about how to clone that into other locations? Because I'm not sure that's easy.
No, I concur. Well, thank you for that. But yes, that's the most important thing. Our opportunity for our platform is to encourage and nurture great people who just want to inspire, have a great time, and more importantly, celebrate life responsibly. And we feel Party on Demand will be that platform, allowing them to do that, and hopefully have 1 million Willy G's out here.
Are great. Thank you very much, Willy.
By the way, the last question was basically what I said before, but his answer was, I don't understand. Party dude. So the point being was, the third fella who asked that question was just basically saying, can we take it from LA to other markets? And it's not about great opportunity to do a party and blah, blah, blah. But it's about saying, yes, we've identified, besides LA, we've identified Florida, I don't know what, Miami, New York, Calgary, and out of all places, I don't know what, Naples. just for the fun of it. And for this, we're going to need blah, blah, blah to start it up. And on every location will require 2 people on the ground, however, operations, blah. And that's the thing. And that's something, it's so important that you understand that when you're building your pitch, it's not the big whole vision and lifestyle and fun part investors are looking for, but rather business opportunity. I can't stress this enough. Now, as I told you, I always do this in one sitting. So there's no editing in between. I don't watch it before. And you might see me sometimes stumble or stutter or even correct myself. But the point being is, understand that your pitch is not listened to by someone for the 9th time who is super concentrated on this, but by people who probably had a long, stressful day, who've listened to a ton of not really interesting pitches, and who probably do that in between meetings, and in between being mommies and daddies, and in between, I don't know what, being a CEO of a company, and in between getting messages from founders you're supporting saying, oh my goodness, we're about to die. And then you listen to this pitch, and you need to be switched on, and you need to get the numbers, and you need to get enough data to be able to make a rough decision. And the last thing before I end this is there's one thing you really need to understand. A pitch is not a one-directional conversation where end of story, someone gives you a ton of money, but a pitch is simply a conversation starter, where probably afterwards someone's going to say, hey, after the Q&A session where you said, by the way, it's unit economics, 299 and 150, and someone goes up and says, that's great. Can we grab a coffee later? And when you grab that coffee, you have a quick 10-minute chat because you have to hop on your plane. And if those 10 minutes go really well, you say, hey, dude, that was really cool. I'd love to set up a call with you next week, maybe an hour where we can discuss a little further, and I'll get my team on board with me. And if that hour goes well, we're probably going to meet again together for a 2-day workshop on site and blah, 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 blah. And eventually you IPO. But you need to understand that. You need to build your pitch in that way. In that sense, I hope you enjoyed this real life pitch. And if you're watching at this point in time, a like would be amazing. And if you have a pitch you would like me to take a look at, by the way, just post it in the comments. I'd love that. And in that sense, thank you very much. It was a pleasure. Take care, stay safe, and talk to you next time.